adventure, and yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was a pretty tough climb. I gotta say, I'm not sure if you'd be able to make it to the top, but you could give it a
tough
go
climb,
someday.
you guys. It was. You hear that, everyone? It was tough climbing Mount Kilimanjaro.
No, so realistically,
Thanks. Nice. Hey everybody, you're listening to Brews and Bruise Reviews, the show with cold drinks and even colder takes. As you can see, I'm not back in my usual basement studio in Vancouver with the Crosby jersey, Whitecaps banner, Doosan Bears jersey hanging behind me. We're broadcasting from way out here in Sun Peaks, BC for this special road trip episode. For those out-of-province listeners that aren't caught up with their BC geography, Sun Peaks is in the interior of beautiful British Columbia, just about an hour's drive of Kamloops. We're just here for a short pit stop before continuing up to Prince George, where I'll be dropping off my sister MeiMei, where she will be out in the wilderness, away from society for 3 months, living with the bears and cougars and moose. Meese? Planting trees for the same company I worked for only a year ago, Folklore Contracting Lieutenant. My sister's name is Jordan, but as I understand it, she really only uses that name for business purposes. Her friends call her MeiMei. While we're all business, always, all the time here on Brews and Bruise Reviews, my sister and I are great friends as well. So you will hear me probably addressing her by her less formal but preferred nickname, MeiMei. MeiMei is a student athlete on the rowing team at Harvard University down in Boston. Psst, yes, you heard that right. Nerd alert. She goes to Harvard, where she studies global health and government while training and competing on the rowing team. She also ran track for Harvard at one point, but that is no longer the case. We'll get into that later. For now, we're just here at this juncture in Sun Peaks where it seems that MeiMei is either confused or wanderlust, because it was only 2 weeks ago that she was in Dakar, Senegal, working for a company called Beautiful Soul, working towards empowering women in Africa to become more financially independent. So we're now stopped here in Sun Peaks, Bear Country as the locals like to call it, ironically before heading off to Prince George, where she will be reluctantly living with those bears in close contact in the wilderness, planting trees for 3 months. So she's kind of jumping from adventure to adventure without really skipping a beat. Anyways, welcome to the show, MeiMei.
Hey guys, happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me on, Jake.
Yeah, so we've got a very special episode planned for you guys today, and when I say special, we're talking rowing, we're talking track, we're talking living in Senegal, tree planting, maybe a little bit of Taylor Swift drama. Who knows?
Looking forward to it.
But yeah, before that, we've got some brews to review. So how thirsty are you today, MeiMei?
Thirsty enough for a good old Caribou.
Alright, so let's crack these suckers open. Cheers. So, first of all, I picked a very apt drink for today's episode as we are headed off to Prince George, BC, and Caribou is in fact brewed in Prince George, BC. I don't know if you can see that, but yeah. BC local brew here. So yeah, let's give her a go. Last episode we reviewed the Granville Island Sip Easy Lager, and that one got a score of 6.5. So we'll see how this one stacks up.
Let's do it.
Cheers. One sip. Everyone knows the rules. I'm liking what I'm getting so far.
very, very smooth.
It's a crisp one.
I gotta say, it's 10 a.m., but this is still...
still kind of hitting the spot with me.
Still feeling good.
You know what? I think this one tops the Sip Easy. I'm gonna have to say it. I'm sorry, Granville Island, but this is edging into that elite category. I would definitely put it in the 7. I would say in the 7s, low 7s. I would say 7.2. I'm thrilled with the label design here. Very cool, unique. I love green, as you can tell. Love the green with the caribou and the yellow. Oh, like I'm just matching right now. Look at this.
Yeah, you are.
I'm not even planned or anything. So I'm gonna give that a 7.2. What do you think, MeiMei?
I gotta say, I'm not a huge fan of beers, but this one is going down real smooth. And this has got to be, for me, an 8. A good beer.
All right. Well, I think we're gonna stick with 7.2 because as you said,
I'm not the most experienced beer drinker.
You're not an experienced beer drinker. Way she goes, but 7.2. We'll call it with upward potential. We'll see. Anyways, so now that we got that out of the way, so MeiMei, you just came from Dakar, Senegal, where you were working for Beautiful Soul. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how that adventure came about, what kind of work you were doing over there, not only why the work itself was important objectively, but on a personal level, why don't you tell us why it was important to you personally?
So it started out when I decided to take a gap year from my studies at Harvard, and I was looking for something interesting to do, and I was speaking with a family friend, MK, who put me in contact with her old boss, Patricia at Beautiful Soul. And things turned out pretty good, and I hopped on a plane a few weeks later to head on over to Senegal. And there at Beautiful Soul, I was working on a digital leadership platform for women, empowering women in Africa, and we did a lot of webinars and centering around mentoring, training, and coaching for women to teach financial independence and leadership, how to become leaders in their communities and in their families and in their friend groups. So I think you wanted to know why I thought it was important and what I enjoyed about it.
Yeah, I mean, give us some of your unique experiences over there. What makes Senegal different from a place like Vancouver or Sun Peaks?
Well, I gotta say, probably the biggest difference I experienced was the community feel and just how people treated each other. You know, I was walking along the road with a colleague of mine who had a 2-year-old kid walking alongside us, and people from everywhere just hanging out on the streets were coming over and grabbing his hand, picking him up, and treating him like his own. And that's really the feeling that I got there. Everyone was family. Everyone was a community. And you know, my colleagues took me right in. I met entire families. I'd go over and have dinner with them, and you know, it didn't matter if we were very different people and had very different backgrounds. They took me right in, and because of that, I felt very safe and at home and happy.
Do you find people maybe looked at you a little bit different, like treated you a little bit different from someone? I mean, because obviously you have a different appearance. You're an outsider. People can probably recognize you and spot you out on the street. Do you find people that kind of had a positive or a negative effect with your ability to sort of connect with people over there? What do you think?
Unfortunately, I do think that I was looked at differently for both good and bad reasons. I think that, at least in my community, it felt like there was a difference of opinion between white people and black people just based on race. And, that's just, that's something that's changing gradually, but as a white person, I was automatically seen as someone who had more money and was, of a more privileged background, and even if they didn't know who I was, and
which isn't wrong.
Indeed, absolutely. I definitely come from a more privileged background, but even if I hadn't come from a more privileged background, it is seen as the white race was put on a pedestal, unfortunately. And so that put me in a place where sometimes I was a target. I did get my phone and a bunch of money stolen, but at the same time, on the other side of it, some people treated me differently and with more respect, which wasn't something that I was looking for. But overall, I do have to say that it was a beautiful experience, and I really did feel like I was taken in by my colleagues and my friends, and that's
right. Okay.
A great overall experience.
So there was this great community you had helping you out and treating you as taking you in and welcoming you. You were working for Beautiful Soul. So why don't you take us through kind of like your typical day, working at Beautiful Soul, living with Patricia, just like your daily schedule. Yeah.
So my first 3 months, I was living with my boss, Patricia, at Beautiful Soul. And then at the end of those 3 months, I found a place for myself, and I felt familiar enough and independent enough that I could move off on my own. So those two sets of 3 months looked very different. I would have to say that I was hanging out with a lot more friends and going out a lot more and experiencing. I was kind of thrown in the mix of the Senegal community when I was living on my own, and so I would wake up at 6 a.m., head out to the gym, do a good workout at the gym.
What kind of workouts were you doing over there? What kind of facilities did they have?
So there was a really nice gym that had it had treadmills, ellipticals, spin bikes, weights, like a full stacked weight room. It was a very nice gym. So I was and it was super well located for me because it was 10 minutes from my work. So
love that.
Yeah, it was amazing. I'd hit the gym for an hour, shower at the gym, walk on over to work.
Did you ever swim? Was there like a swimming pool kind of thing?
There was a swimming pool, but I never ended up hitting the pool. But
did you have to wear masks in the gym?
No. Actually, in Senegal, it was interesting because COVID was not taken very seriously. Jeez. And so people kind of just went on like it was a normal day, no pandemic. Pandemic was for the foreigners, not really affecting Senegal, even though the numbers showed that it did. It definitely wasn't as bad as it has been in North America, but not a lot of masks.
They have other problems to deal with. sort of thing?
Yeah, I guess so. I think also there was a lot of mistrust of the government, so people weren't sure if it was a conspiracy theory or if it was something real. Not a lot of vaccinations going on there.
that's not exceptional to Senegal. There's a lot of I think there is a lot of skepticism in the government here in North America too. A lot of people I've heard unfortunately we're all pro vaccine here on Brews and Bruise Reviews,
Yes.
but I've heard a lot of people that are kind of skeptical or just hesitant about the vaccine. But yeah, I mean,
with good reason, as it was developed pretty quickly. But pro-vaccine, for sure.
Right. Okay. And so you would go to the gym and then you would head to work. So did you have a driver or a bike or something?
No. Actually, biking was extremely dangerous because it was the most insane driving traffic patterns that I've ever experienced. And I've lived in Taiwan and China, which has pretty insane traffic patterns as well. Being on a bike was no, an absolute no for me. I would walk on over to work. It was a 10-minute walk. I was really lucky with the location of the gym.
Okay. And so you get to work, and so we talked about how you were over there. Your job was aimed specifically to empower women to be more financially independent, as I understand it. So what sort of things were you actually doing? How were you helping these people? What were you specifically at work? What did your job sort of entail?
So the project, it was called Now, which means flight in Wolof, the local dialect in Senegal. It was brand new. It launched a week after I arrived in Senegal. So when I was there, it was a lot about getting the product off the ground. So I was doing a lot of marketing. I was doing a lot of research. I was doing a lot of social media posting and website design. I was working a lot on the websites. And because we were doing a lot of content formation for the mentoring, training, and coaching. And I was looking for fundraising and partnerships with other organizations. So I gotta say, I can't really tell you exactly what I was doing because I was doing a little bit of everything every day.
Okay. So not just running coffees, not just scanning that paperwork. You were in the trenches there. You were really making an impact.
I was trying to. That was the goal.
All right. So you said you were kind of looked at differently, targeted. You had your phone stolen. So I mean, being in a different country, I understand the first language is French.
French, yes.
So we both did go to French school, so we know a little bit of French, but it must have been a little bit difficult sort of adjusting to that.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, having your property stolen, that must have been scary. Do you want to sort of take us through that whole thing?
Yeah, I guess so. This would happen traveling anywhere. Just being a foreigner, you're an automatic target.
Of course.
And so I was a little bit ignorant and naive in the sense that I got a little too comfortable, and I was really embracing the warm and friendliness of everyone, like strangers, friends, and family. So I was walking along the road one day, and this guy came up to me and started talking to me, and ended up taking my phone and a bunch of money from me, and played with my head a little bit.
So he just grabbed it from you and ran, or
well, it happened over the series of about 8 hours, and He
Oh
was
my
following me
goodness.
around and was playing with my head a little bit. There was a misunderstanding between myself and my friend. She told me that she knew him and he was a good friend of hers. That was because,
Sounds like you need better friends.
no, I was speaking English and English is not her first language. So misunderstanding with that. And he ended up, it was a stupid scam. I can't even, just speaking about it makes me feel so embarrassed.
Right, but I mean, there's kind of this, when you go to a foreign country, there's a different culture, there's a language barrier, there's all these things, so you don't really know what to expect. And I mean, you said there's all these people helping you and treating you as family and
Yeah.
welcoming you, so, it just sucks. But, the sort of securities that you would have back home here in Canada, like not to sort of trust someone so much, or to be, I mean, there's all these barriers impeding your judgment. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's of course it's unfortunate something like that would happen, but I think you get a little bit of not a full pass.
Nope. It was a good learning experience.
But there's to put it in context, I mean, there's a couple barriers to judgment. So
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's true. French wasn't my first language. He was speaking to me fully in French. Playing with my psyche a little bit. He was telling me all these things like, how could you not trust me? Your friend even told you that we're good friends, and I was thinking about, I'm not respecting the culture here. Like, I'm not respecting.
Right, and you don't want to offend someone, guy, and if your friends are really close. Yeah. Anyways, so yeah. That happened. Sucks.
Yeah.
Must have been a big panic thing. I'm sure, but you got through that. You're back here in Vancouver. Sorry, not in Vancouver. We're in Sun Peaks. Anyways, moving on. Let's get to some of the more fun stuff. This is a sports podcast, so we got to talk about some of the more active things you did over there. So as I understand it, you had sort of a mountaineering excursion over there, and so you climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, which is very cool. Something I will admit I'm a little bit jealous about. Kilimanjaro's really cool. So do you want to talk about that experience and what led you to go on that adventure? And yeah.
I mean, it was a pretty tough climb. I gotta say, I'm not sure if you'd be able to make it to the top, but you could give it a
tough
go
climb,
someday.
you guys. It was. You hear that, everyone? It was tough climbing Mount Kilimanjaro.
No, so realistically,
Thanks. Nice.
Realistically, it was a good, slow, easy walk, about 6 to 8 hours every single day. So, because of the pace of it, I think most people could do it. What was really tough was summit day. You start at 11 p.m. the night before.
So give us, hold on, give us the stats first. How long did it take?
7 days.
7 days.
Yeah.
So you had some sort of tent or something that you set up every night? Everything on your back?
Okay, so actually, it is...
No. Stats first. So you had your tent, everything. Oh, did you have Sherpas or someone carrying your gear?
So it's Tanzanian law that you have to pay porters to bring all your stuff for you. So you have a day pack, but you pay for this crew of about 20 guys who are absolutely insane. They carry 60 pounds on their back and they're practically running up the mountain. They start after us and pass us within an hour and get up to to your next campsite.
Your next stop.
And set everything up, start cooking. You arrive, food's ready.
So how much so you paid these it's like set up through a travel agency or something like that?
Yeah, guide, travel agency.
Okay,
Yeah.
and how many? What's the elevation of Kilimanjaro?
6,000 meters.
6,000 meters. Okay,
Does that
above
make
sea.
sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And
I believe it's like 5,800 and something, but approximately 6,000
so how many steps did you take?
steps.
You didn't count your steps?
No.
Oh, okay. So
Only rookies do that.
all right. So you have this crew of guys carrying your gear, cooking for you. I know you have to go through some sort of when you're climbing Everest, the elevation and the lack of oxygen once you get up top.
Yeah.
It can really mess with your head and stuff on your body. Do you want to talk about that?
So I think they do a really good job in that you walk really slowly every day, which definitely helps the acclimation. Also, you'll get to camp, set up camp, and do a hike, an extra 2-hour hike, so your body can get used to the top a little bit, and then you come back down. But the day that it really hits is summit day, because you hike over a kilometer of elevation in about 6 hours. Start at 11 p.m. the night before, hike through the night, and also altitude sickness doesn't hit you. It doesn't discriminate based on fitness. So it does not matter how fit you are, you can get hit by altitude sickness. Unfortunately, I was hit by altitude sickness. And
did that happen during your trip or afterwards or
during? So many people actually were suffering from altitude sickness on my
just
trip.
pop an Advil and you're good to go, or what?
No, Advil does not do the trick. It's nothing. It was vertigo. It was stomach issues. It was headaches. It was not being able to keep your eyes open. Like thankfully I had hiking poles, because my eyes were closed for half of the summit mount to the top, because I was like, it was all I could do to put one step in front of the other. But we made it, and that's all that matters. It was like being in heaven when we arrived to the top.
Yeah, what was the view like at the top?
You're above every single cloud. The sun is insanely strong. And because the sun, and it's all snowy, so because the sun is so strong also, and there's snow, everything is sparkling.
Wow.
And you have this feeling just this feeling of elation. You have worked so hard, you've flown across the world to get here, made it. You go through all this pain from the summit day,
and then you got to climb down.
And then you climb down almost to the bottom.
So did it take you 7 days round trip, or is to the top 7 days and then another couple days?
So it's 5.5 days to summit, and then 1.5 days to the bottom, all the way to the bottom.
Okay.
Yeah.
So from one adventure to the next, Senegal, Kilimanjaro, we're just about to head up north to Prince George, and so let's get into this. So tree planting. So MeiMei, what sparked your what made you want to embark on this next adventure here?
Well,
going to Prince George, planting trees, living in the wilderness with the cougars and the bears and the moose.
I've got to say that growing up in this family, we've been pretty outdoorsy family, and I've always loved camping and being out in the woods, but specifically tree planting was a little inspired by you last summer. This kiddo over here planted a few trees last summer as well, and had a pretty good experience. Made some good cash. So I was thinking, if I'm ever gonna plant some trees, it's gonna be during COVID. So
it's a good time to go.
Yeah.
Right, and we all know tree planting is a tough job. Bears, cougars, moose, bugs eating your face, eating your flesh while you're trying to sleep, while you're trying to work, being away from society for a long time. And just like we talked about in Senegal, when we embark on these new adventures, there's this sort of nervousness that comes with it, like the fear. We all fear different things, like the fear of the unknown. For me, for example, my biggest fear, as I'm sure you can all tell and all our viewers can see, is the barber. But everyone fears different things. On a new adventure, we often fear the unknown. So what are you most nervous about going into this new journey?
Well, there's definitely a few things. One thing you warned me about was you said to me earlier, you gotta give me a call the first day, the first time you take a dump on the block. So apparently that's quite an experience.
Well, there's no bathrooms out there, but
yeah.
I might want to edit that out. That's a little bit TMI. I don't know, but
I think the bugs are gonna be tough. I think just like the work itself. I know because it's such a new movement, it'll be such a new movement, and I'll be doing the same movement hundreds of times per day, maybe eventually thousands.
Well, if you're good, you'll get into the thousands, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. So there's always a risk of injury, and the last thing I'd want to do is come back early from the season with a broken back or a broken wrist or whatever goes on there. So there's always the fear of injury, and I don't know, it's just every aspect of it is going to be new. Being pretty isolated in the woods, you're working on your own 10 hours a day, 8 to 10 hours, and I'm coming in late to the season, so hopefully people are going to accept me into their community. We'll see.
Who knows? I probably wouldn't, but I mean...
Well, I've fared pretty well around your company, so if that's the case, I'm not too worried.
Yeah, I mean, this job is physically straining, to say the least. I mean, injuries are definitely something to worry about. You got to stay healthy out there. You got to stay hydrated, otherwise you won't make it through. It's a 10-hour workday, sometimes even more, so it's a long time. You're out there in the wilderness and in the rain and the wind, in the hot heat up north. As we talked about, there's bugs and bears and cougars. So there's really a lot of things to look out for. But I think one of the main things that makes a tree planter good at their work, effective, is having experience with competitive athletics, sports, whatever it is.
Hey, there's a bear.
Oh, there's
Speaking
a bear.
of bears and cougars and
There's a bear.
and tigers.
As we said, we're in bear country. I'm just looking at a little black bear up on the hill. Anyways, as I was saying, so physically straining work, there's a lot of things you got to look out for, but one of the main things that makes a tree planter effective at their job is having experience with competitive athletics, because there's a sort of competitive edge to it. You get back to camp after the long work day, everyone's talking about their day, how many trees they put in the ground, and some people can get competitive with it, and obviously you want to put more trees in the ground because that's how you get paid. Mm-hmm. And the more trees you get in the ground and the harder you work, the more money you're going to make. And so if you have that competitive edge that sometimes comes from the experience of competitive athletics, whatever sport it is, that can really benefit you. And just being an athlete, you're more used to physical work and using your body in different ways and being active and working out and all these things. So a lot of people come out of it with with great memories, and a lot of people really enjoy being out there. It's obviously not for everyone. It's very tough work, and you can't do it your whole life because this it'll break you mentally and physically at times. But I'm sure you're gonna be you're gonna do great, and you're gonna have a great time because you're experienced in athletics, and you've done a number of different sports over the years. Not to mention track and field, rowing. So yeah, going back to all that. We mentioned you were on the track team at one point. You were an OFSAA athlete back in high school, OFSAA champion.
The good old days.
Not a big deal or anything. Not a big deal. But you've sort of transitioned now to this other venue of this waterbound sport of rowing. So do you want to talk about first of all some of the hardships that you had to go through in sort of realizing that training full time as a runner on the Harvard track team, and realizing that trying to just whip yourself back into shape and get your body into running shape for the competition season. It's a very quick turnaround from cross country to track. For those of you didn't know, middle to long distance running is a year-round thing in college. It's not a very forgiving sport. The miles, they really add up on your knees and your bones and your joints, as I definitely found, having spent 4 years running cross country and track at UBC. So what kind of hardships did you have to go through in dealing with those injuries, and can you just take us through the thought process of realizing that this sport that you've been doing for so long and you've been so successful at through the past couple years, having been to OFSAA, having won OFSAA, what were you thinking? Having to accept that this might not be the best thing for you as a person and for your body, and realizing that this might not be the best thing for you.
Well, Jake, I gotta say that it was the hardest decision I've ever made. I had a lot of highs running. It was what I dedicated my life to. It was my whole life, I had competed for the Youth Commonwealth Games for Canada, representing Canada, and after that, my goal and my dream was to go on to the Olympics to represent Canada. And then, I got into this cycle of injury after injury, and 5 years down the road of not being able to compete even once because of this injury cycle, getting back into it, getting injured like that again. 5 years down the road, I'd been thinking about it a lot, and the worst thing that could have happened to me, the next thing, was getting injured again. There was so much freedom and that was taken away from me in every injury. I was on crutches. I sometimes I wasn't very mobile. I couldn't do a lot of things with my friends.
You're away from the team, from your group that you associate with, not able to practice. I went through the same, a similar sort of deal in my second year. I was dealing with a patellofemoral issue, so instead of running on the track and in the cross-country trails at UBC with all my friends and teammates, I was in the pool doing pool run workouts, or on the bike, which is just excruciating sometimes it can be boring. You're on your own, just
Yeah.
trying to replicate something that would be happening on the track, either on the bike or in the pool. Just it. I think the number one thing for me was being on my own, not having that element of camaraderie, because so much of running is social. You know, when you're running your warm ups, or you're on your rest, or you're with your teammates, you're with your support group, your social group, your friends, and not having that element, walking into the locker room and shooting the shit, just like we're doing here, having that element of camaraderie, that social element. It sucks, and you can get it hurts. It can get you bogged down. It'll get into your head. You start thinking, after so long. It's the recovery process. Doing these seemingly just boring, non-effective. I mean, they are effective, but you can't see the progress in real time. So doing these physio exercises can be they can be disheartening, because you can't see your real progress. So it gets in your head. You start thinking, am I ever going to get back to it? And it can be really depressing, being away from all that and having that not being able to be with your friends and teammates, and not being able to do what you love. Not being able to work out, not being able to be with your friends, not being able to pursue your passion.
Yeah, and I gotta say, 5 years of physio exercises, that kind of hits the nail on the head. I think that being injured when you're on, especially when you're a competitive athlete, being on a varsity team, you're injured twice, because not only are you physically injured, you're socially injured. You're like you said, you're isolated, you're on your own. You don't get any attention from the coach because you got to do your own thing, and you're not producing results for the team, and you're not producing results for the school. So for me, it wasn't the decision to transition into rowing was more so to liberate me, because I had been to countless doctors, gotten countless MRIs and X-rays, and done, oh my gosh, thousands of physio exercises, and I had the same result time after time. And so my body, my bone density was incredibly low, because I pounded my bones so much from such an early age running competitively. So my body was telling me, you got to take a break. You got to let your body heal itself. So I decided to finally listen to that, and I was looking for a sport that could satisfy my need to be competitive and to compete, to train hard, to have that team aspect again. And rowing, I tried it once before in high school. I loved it. It's non-impact. It works on your strength and builds bone density, which is exactly what I needed.
It's a great workout. I also tried it for a very short stint in high school. Didn't end up great. For those of my rowing friends back in Ottawa, this might bring a smile to their faces, but I flipped my boat not once but twice in the Ottawa River. For those of you that have been to Ottawa, that was during the winter, so the water was not warm, and once you flip your boat, you're at risk of hypothermia. So that's the end of your day. You're off the water. Hit the showers, kid, basically. Rowing is such an all body workout. Those erg workouts, I don't know how you rowers do it. I couldn't handle that. I'll stick to the track.
Yeah, I gotta say, having been on both sides of those sports, rowing is the hardest thing I've ever done, and I trained pretty hard in track, so rowing is definitely takes some mental discipline.
Right. Right. And okay, so moving from the sport itself, there's different sort of sport. There's different cultures that go along with every sport, and there's gonna be different team cultures going from team to team. We all know that. So uh, I know what the culture is like from a track background. Obviously, it's going to be different from team to team with different teammates, different groups, different areas of the world, different coaches, different coaching styles. Uh, Not to mention, you're down in the States training and competing. I'm here in Canada, but for me, running in college was an unforgettable experience, specifically because of that culture, that social element. So I was blessed to be training with a very tight knit group of guys and girls. Some of my teammates and great teammates, great coaches. Shout out Norm, shout out CJ. Those guys. Even when I was injured, I had tons of support from them. They did an absolutely phenomenal job of building the UBC track and cross country programs up and maintaining them. I mean, we were a team of the year. We won a couple of titles down in the NAIA for cross country and for track one year as well. The varsity community at UBC was just amazing. Going from practice, we had our teammates. We all had meals together in the dining hall in first year together, and practices and studied together. The varsity community offered tons of support. There was Thunder Study, which was this area that you could go to a couple times a week to get free tutoring for all the varsity athletes. So they offered academic support, and there was a number of counseling services at UBC. So it was just great being able to walk around campus and seeing familiar faces. It was always great to have that tight group of guys and gals to train with and to study with, hang out with year time. As most athletes know, the teammates that you train and compete with, those are some of your closest friends a lot of the time. I know I've got a couple friends for life on the track team, the guys who I was roommates with and trained and competed with. So, do you want to talk about your experiences with the cultures? Any different cultural differences, any traditions that you had that you noticed from both teams? What are the differences in culture in terms of camaraderie, in terms of practices, traditions, and anything noticeable in the social cultural elements of both teams going from track to rowing?
For sure. So one huge difference is the size of the team. So the track team was tiny. And I think also one part of that is because the distance team was pretty isolated from the rest of the track team. And so the distance team was very small, and compared to the rowing team, which is the lightweight girls in itself is 30 girls. And then there's the heavyweight girls, there's the heavyweight guys and the lightweight guys. With each team is 30 to 60 people. First thing I gotta say about the track team is that having been injured the entirety of my time on their team, I definitely had a different social experience than you did, the camaraderie experience, and that was one thing that was really hurting my entire time that I was on that team because it was such a small team and they were so tight. I felt I didn't feel like I had those same connections with them. And the thing with the track team is that they live, eat, and breathe track, and there's a beauty to that. But like their entire college experience was a track team. And it's funny, they're like once a year once a year, the track team had like a 2 week break. As you said, cross country goes right into track. 2 week break. So
I'm sure they had fun during those 2 weeks.
there's one party a year. One party a year. and so
Sounds like a good time.
So you know, the distance team gets together, and it's only the distance team. Everyone you know, starts drinking.
I'm sure
whatever.
it's a shit show because it's only one party a year, so a lot of
They
those
go for it.
and it's in the States as well, so
Yeah.
legal drinking age is 21, so they won't have had a lot of experience with that.
Yeah.
And
So maybe they weren't drinking alcohol, you know, like legally they would have been drinking non-alcoholic beverages.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah. So
sure.
compared to the rowing team, I think the rowing team had a little bit more of a balance. And obviously I've had a different experience with the rowing team as well because I've been well integrated as I've been able to compete and train with them. More of a balance in that, you know, we definitely work super hard and are so dedicated, and like when you're in the boathouse or leading up to races, nothing else matters, you know. It's your team and it's your performance. You're performing for your teammates because you're in a boat with your teammates. You know, everyone is relying on you, on each other. So there was a beauty in that accountability. But also, you know, on the other side, people were in extracurriculars. People were going on hikes on the weekend with the outing club. People are, you know, into crafts and hanging out and partying. And, you know, there was a really nice balance with the rowing team.
A little more fun and work balance on the rowing team.
Exactly, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
So at UBC, you know, we were never too straight and narrow. There was always a little bit of a fun element, like, you know, us, at least on the guys' side, I think the girls as well. We always made sure to mix a little bit of fun in there as well. We met up for weekend stuff and helped out the first years finding their footing. Yeah, so at UBC, you know, there was always a little bit of a balance. You know, we weren't too straight and narrow, but, you know, the moment I got there, it was we weren't just partying every weekend, right? So when I got there in first year, you know, all the seniors made it very clear, you know, when you come to practice, you're there. It's business. So you know, we had Saturday morning practices every week, so that was a big. The big thing was, you know, it's your choice. You're an adult, so you make your own decisions, and you know, the thing is, you can go out on a Friday night, but you know, you got Saturday morning practice, and being hungover is absolutely not an excuse to miss practice. So you can miss practice because you have an injury, because you're feeling sick or something, but if you're hungover, if you made the decision to go out and party on a Friday night when you had Saturday morning practice, you better show up to practice, and you better perform. So you know, I've heard lots of different coaches with different coaching philosophies trying to enforce a you know, like zero drinking policies, or, you know, but I find, you know, there needs to be some balance, because as you said, as you remarked on the rowing team, you know, they are college kids, are adults, but, you know, they're also in college, so there needs to be some sort of balance. And I think having that sort of balance is conducive to team culture, which helps in performance.
Yeah, absolutely. I also want to add, like, these girls on the rowing team as well as the track team are some of the smartest girls that I know. They are so driven they take their drive and their dedication that they've learned through sports and apply it to academics. So obviously, they are very academically high achieving as well as their well-roundedness with athletics and other extracurriculars and taking on leadership positions. So these girls are super inspirational and influential in my life, and I'm really happy and lucky to be surrounded with such a great team.
Absolutely. You're it's teammates should only be encouraging you to pursue your goals in and outside of the track or erg room or whatever that is, and your company defines who you are a lot of the time. So
yeah,
having great team culture and positive people that are going out and being influential in their communities and doing other things is a great benefit to being involved with a team sport.
Absolutely.
And so, the moment you've all been waiting for. As I mentioned, this is the road tripping episode. So, we're in the middle of these couple different adventures. MeiMei coming from Senegal back to Vancouver and then straight up north to Prince George, where she's going to be tree planting. So there's a lot of driving in between these adventures, a lot of traveling, and when you're traveling, it's always nice to have a good soundtrack to help pass the time in the car or on the plane or whatever it is. So, as we are going to be traveling by car, I thought it would be great to review an artist's recent work. So this artist has been around for a while. Her music is usually pretty road trip worthy, because when she's on the radio, you're always wanting to sing along to it. Starting out in country music before transitioning to pop, and in her more recent albums, having adopted a more folk music, kind of grainy acoustic sound to her recording style. I'm of course talking about the one and only fabulous and incredibly talented Taylor Swift, which may come as a surprise to you. To many of our viewers, I am a big fan of T Swift. Been listening to her for many years. So the reason we're reviewing her work is not only because of her recent album, her recent work, but also because there's a little bit of a story going on, because Taylor Swift recently got into a massive public spat with her previous manager, Scooter Braun, who she claimed to have been exerting tyrannical control over her music and went as far as selling her old work to different owners. So she had no legal ownership over her own work that she had worked so hard over a long career to put out there and record. There was even a clause in the ownership contract sold to the new owners that Taylor's old tracks, the owners of the new tracks cannot get into contact with Taylor whatsoever, because either directly or indirectly, and therefore she couldn't even reach out to them. She doesn't even know who owns her stuff, so she can't reach out to them and try to buy back her old music. So what she's done is she's gone to re-record her old music, re-record her old albums, so as to diminish the value of the old tracks that she doesn't have ownership over, and make them her own. So she's also added a couple new tracks in the new re-recorded versions of the album. Some of them sound a little bit different, maybe a little bit less overproduced, because they're actually owned by her, and she doesn't have some tyrannical manager controlling what it sounds like and what she puts out there. A lot of the new tracks I found were so we're talking about the the Fearless album that she recently released just last month, Taylor's version of it. So I found a lot of the tracks, like I said, have more of an acoustic element. They're less overproduced, less poppy. They're more kind of her. They sound more like what she wants to sound like, rather than what the record label wants to put out for the radio, for the masses. They're more unique to herself. And you know what? I think we can all understand the frustrations that go into not having ownership over your own work, right? I mean, it seems like it's been an ongoing problem with musicians and record labels, because when an artist is first starting up, they're not as recognized, they're not as famous, and their work isn't as expensive. You know, their first couple albums, they might be valued lower because they haven't been around for too long, and so they sign a multi-record deal. They're signed for a couple albums, and by the second or third album, they're superstars, and they should be getting more, but they're still tied to those old contracts. And so, I mean, the record labels can sort of do what they want with their work and sort of abuse their artists. So, I mean, I think it's great that Taylor's re-recording her old stuff and kind of fighting back to the music industry and the overreaching record labels, specifically settling this feud with her old manager, Scooter Braun. And you know, she's finally taking control of her work and putting out music that's unique to her, to what she wants to sound like. So I understand you've had a little bit of time to listen to the new version. I don't know if you heard the old stuff, but I mean, it's the 2008's Fearless that was very, very popular. Songs like You Belong With Me, Love Story, da 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 da. Or actually, I don't know if You Belong With Me was from Fearless, but yeah, what did you think of the album?
So I gotta preface my rating of this album with just the story of Taylor Swift being screwed over by her record label, Scott. That's his name, right?
Scooter.
Okay. I gotta preface this my rating of this album by saying just the story of being screwed over by Scooter, and you know, taking ownership and showing, you know, this is something that musicians, like you said, get screwed over. They get screwed over a lot, and you know, sending a message to the world saying like, no, this is not okay, and this should not be okay in the future, and I'm not going to let this happen to me. You know, empowering herself. It's a really beautiful story, and I listen to the music. I listen to this album just to support Taylor Swift and her recent actions. Really admire her for that.
Just to support multi-hundred-millionaire Taylor Swift.
Well, you know,
pop culture icon, as if she needed the support.
No matter how much money she has, it took guts to do what she did, and I think also it's empowering for women just hearing that story. So now in terms of the actual music, I gotta say there were some really good songs on it. I really liked Forever and Always. It was definitely a song that had a nice beat to it, and I felt like I could dance to it, and that's kind of the genre that I like. A lot of the songs felt a little bit homogenous in the way that it was kind of I mean, it was all love stories, and it was kind of slow and kind of puts you to a lull a little bit. I think a few of them are beautiful, but listening to the whole album can be a little bit a lot, because the songs feel a little bit homogenous.
Are you saying they all sound the same?
Yeah, a few of them do, for sure.
That's a show. I big disclaimer, I'm a big fan of T Swift, but I really liked it. I found it was, she added a little bit, just enough nuance to the old tracks that they were kind of fun to revisit and listen to in this new light, in her new mindset. I think Taylor's matured a lot over the years. My favorite tracks were Tell Me Why and also That's When, which has one of my favorite country artists, Keith Urban.
Oh yeah, it was a good one.
Should give that a listen for sure. But yeah, just overall, really admire what Taylor's doing, leading the charge in sort of taking control of artists, her own property as an artist, and making her work her own.
Yeah, agreed.
So yeah, I think that concludes it for the episode. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks, bro. It was fun.
Okay. Thanks for watching. For more in-depth sports analysis and beer reviews, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe if you want to stay notified of my future videos. Also, if you're a Spotify user and you like listening to podcasts in the car, driving, in the gym, while working out, whatever, click the link in the description to check us out on Spotify. Till next time, stay thirsty, everybody.